Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going back to 2020
Okay.
to a small town you might not have heard of
All right.
called Mount Morris, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be looking into the case of Melissa Lamesch.
Interesting.
And as always, we're going to be diving deep into the source material.
Right.
Which in this case is a few news articles,
Okay.
some court transcripts,
Yeah.
and even a podcast episode.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we've got a lot to cover today.
Looks like it.
So let's imagine this seemingly peaceful community is rocked by this devastating house fire.
Okay.
And a young pregnant EMT named Melissa Lamesch is found dead inside.
Tragic.
At first glance, it just seems like a horrible accident.
Right.
But as we're going to see, there's a lot more to this story, and that's why we're here today.
Yeah.
So let's start with Melissa.
Yes.
She was 27 years old, dedicated EMT,
Yeah.
and she was really excited about becoming a mother to her son, Barrett. And her family describes her as just this vibrant, full of life person.
Mm-hmm.
They use words like sugar and spice.
Oh.
And unapologetically herself.
Yeah, I like that.
To really capture her spirit.
Mm-hmm.
She even had this beloved cat named Antonio.
Oh. Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, she really seemed like she was looking forward to this new chapter in her life.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So,
yeah, so we have this picture of Melissa,
right.
this vibrant young woman excited to be a mother.
Yeah.
And then we also have the father of her child, Matthew Plote.
Right.
A firefighter with a seemingly upstanding life.
Yeah. And it's interesting how they had this, sort of casual, on-again, off-again relationship for a few years.
Okay.
But then when Melissa revealed she was pregnant, things got really complicated.
Oh, so he wasn't happy about it.
He really wasn't.
Oh, wow.
He actually urged her to have an abortion.
Oh, gee.
And then really distanced himself from her. And what's even more striking is he kept the pregnancy a secret from everyone.
Really?
Yeah, his family, his colleagues. Nobody knew.
Wow. So that's pretty strange behavior.
It is strange.
Yeah, especially for somebody, in a profession that's all about helping people.
Right.
Yeah.
Saving lives.
Mm-hmm.
You
think they'd be a little more nurturing.
It definitely raises some questions about his character.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it makes you wonder what was going through his mind.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about that fateful day.
Okay.
November 25th, 2020.
All right.
We have this this incredibly disturbing account from Melissa's sister, Cassie Bale.
Okay.
She was actually on the phone with Melissa.
Oh, wow.
Just moments before Plote arrived at the house.
Oh, no.
Can you imagine that?
That must have been terrifying to hear that.
So Cassie said that Melissa sounded annoyed, even scared, when she saw Plote outside. And her exact words were, "You gotta be kidding me.
Oh, wow.
He's freaking here again." So you get a real sense of her apprehension.
Yeah. And those were the last words anyone heard from her.
Yeah, those were her last words.
Oh, my gosh.
So initially, the scene just looked like a tragic accident.
Yeah, a house fire, pregnant woman.
Right. It's awful.
Yeah.
But, as we've been saying,
there's more to it.
Things weren't what they seemed.
Right.
So.
So what happened next?
Yeah. What can you tell us about the investigation?
Well, at first, everybody just assumed that it was an accident.
Yeah.
That she died in the fire.
Right.
And fire investigations can be really complicated.
Yeah, imagine.
But the goal is to figure out, how the fire started.
Right.
Where it started.
Yeah.
And so investigators will look for, signs of accelerants.
Right.
Electrical problems.
Yeah.
Things like that. But in this case, when the autopsy results came back, the whole investigation changed.
Yeah. And this is where things take a really dark turn.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
So the autopsy revealed that there were no signs of smoke inhalation.
Really?
Yeah.
But wouldn't you expect that?
You would?
From a fire?
Yeah, that's what they thought at first too. But instead...
So what was it then?
They found clear evidence of strangulation.
Oh my God.
And blunt force trauma to the head.
Oh, wow.
And the pathologist noted that there was a really high number of petechiae.
Petechiae?
Yeah.
What is that?
Those are like these tiny little red or purple spots in the skin.
Right.
And they're caused by break-in capillaries. And it's often a sign of suffocation. or strangulation.
So she was strangled.
Yeah. And the pathologist actually said it was the most petechiae I've ever seen in a strangulation case.
Wow.
So you can imagine,
That's awful.
the fight that she put up.
Yeah. So she really fought for her life.
She did.
Oh, my gosh.
So this discovery obviously just completely shifted the investigation from an accident to a homicide.
Yeah.
And then arson became a central focus, and the investigators had to try to piece together, what happened.
Yeah, who did it?
Exactly.
And so Plote obviously became a suspect.
Yeah, because he was the last person.
Right, the last one to see her.
To see her alive.
Jeez.
And his behavior during the interviews didn't really help his case.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was strangely calm.
Hmm.
He didn't show much emotion at all when they were talking about Melissa's death.
Wow.
And he even referred to the baby's due date as a deadline.
A deadline?
Yeah.
That's chilling.
It's really strange.
It sounds like he had, maybe an agenda or something.
Yeah, it suggests like this sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Like a timeline he was working against. So I can only imagine how that must have fueled the suspicions.
I bet.
So
we have this initial assumption of a tragic accident. Right.
And then, boom, the autopsy reveals a much darker truth.
Right.
And we've got Plote acting suspicious, trying to hide the pregnancy.
Right.
What else?
Yeah, what other evidence led to his arrest?
Well, there were a few key pieces of evidence.
Yeah.
First, investigators found his DNA.
Oh, wow.
Under Melissa's fingernails.
Ooh.
Indicating there was a struggle before the fire.
Oh, my gosh.
And second, the fire investigator concluded that the fire was intentional.
Wow.
So not an accident.
So it was arson.
Yeah, it was arson.
Jeez.
So with that and, the lack of any other suspects.
Right.
And Plote's strange behavior.
Yeah.
It all pointed to him.
Yeah, it painted a pretty clear picture.
Right.
So after months of, gathering all this evidence, conducting interviews, they finally had enough to arrest him.
Yeah.
So in March 2022, over a year after Melissa's death, Plote was charged with murder.
Wow.
Intentional homicide of an unborn child.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. And arson.
Wow.
And it's important to note that he maintained his innocence throughout this entire process. Mm-hmm. So what a turn of events, right?
Yeah.
We start with this tragic accident.
Right.
And now we've got a murder investigation.
Right. And a prime suspect?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
So it's clear that this is far from a straightforward case.
Yeah, for sure.
So in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to be taking a closer look at the trial and its outcome.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned.
I'm hooked.
So we left off with Matthew Plote's arrest.
Right.
And now you have to imagine the emotional turmoil that Melissa's family was going through.
Oh, absolutely.
If they were preparing for this trial.
Right.
They had to relive all these agonizing details of her death.
Yeah.
And face the man accused of taking her from them.
Yeah, and the trial was a harrowing experience for them.
Yeah.
They had to confront, their grief very publicly.
Yeah.
In a very painful way.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
And there were just these heart-wrenching moments, like when Melissa's mother described seeing her daughter and grandson in a casket.
Oh, my gosh.
Robbed of the chance to hold them alive.
That's just devastating.
Yeah, it really is.
And the impact of this crime goes way beyond the immediate family.
Of course.
Melissa's father actually couldn't even live in their home anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the memories were just too painful.
Yeah, I bet.
And it just shows you.
Yeah, it's true.
How this crime shattered so many lives.
As a ripple effect.
Yeah.
It affects everybody.
So during the sentencing phase, the family actually had the opportunity to address Plote directly.
Oh, wow.
By reading their victim impact statements.
Oh, wow. That must have been hard for them.
Yeah. And these statements are really powerful.
I bet.
They give you this raw and unfiltered look at the consequences of his crime.
Right.
And they express a lot of the pain and anger that words just can't
fully capture.
Right.
So it must have been so difficult for them to stand there.
Oh, yeah.
And confront him.
Absolutely.
So what did those statements tell us about the impact of Plote's actions?
Well, they were incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Melissa's sister Cassie talked about her struggle with guilt.
Yeah.
Wondering if she could have done anything differently.
Oh, wow.
To prevent this.
Yeah.
And she said she's haunted by the last words she heard Melissa speak.
Yeah.
Knowing that danger was right there outside.
Gosh.
Can you imagine carrying that burden?
I can't.
It's awful.
And Melissa's mother
Yeah.
talked about how frustrated she was with the really lengthy investigation. And she said she felt like she was constantly being watched.
Oh, wow.
That she was living in fear
Yeah.
while Plote was still free.
Right.
And she also made it very clear that no sentence could ever truly compensate for the loss of her daughter and her grandson.
That's understandable.
Yeah. And there's a real sense of helplessness in her words.
For sure.
That's just...
It's heartbreaking.
Devastating.
Yeah.
And, these statements really highlight the lasting trauma that extends so far beyond the courtroom.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that justice, while it's necessary, can't ever fully heal the wounds that were inflicted by an act like this.
Yeah, no amount of justice can bring her back.
Exactly.
So Plote actually also spoke at the sentencing.
He did?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He offered condolences to the family.
Okay. Did he express any remorse?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And the sources kind of offered differing interpretations of his statement.
Yeah.
He kept it really brief.
Okay.
Just saying that he shared in the pain and sadness of Melissa and Barrett's loss.
Okay.
But some people saw it as just this hollow attempt to try to get sympathy without actually showing any real remorse.
Right. It sounds like he was trying to manipulate the situation.
Yeah, possibly.
And I imagine Melissa's family probably didn't buy it either.
No, they didn't. They felt like he was still trying to manipulate things.
Yeah.
And that he couldn't just fully acknowledge what he had done.
Right.
And I think that's understandable, given everything they had been through.
Yeah.
Over a year of investigations and hearings and the trial.
Yeah, the emotional roller coaster of all of that.
Exactly.
So his brief statement probably just felt really insufficient.
Yeah.
So what was the final verdict?
Well, in March 2024, after a week-long trial, the jury came back with a verdict of guilty on all charges.
Wow.
And the judge sentenced him to life in prison.
Oh, wow.
Without the possibility of parole.
Oh.
Plus additional time for the arson.
Right.
And the death of the unborn child.
So in the eyes of the law, justice was served.
Right.
But can there truly be closure?
Yeah, that's a good question.
For Melissa's family.
Yeah.
How do they navigate life after a loss like that?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
But it is inspiring to see that they're honoring her memory.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, through charitable acts.
Oh, wow.
Like they've been donating to animal shelters. And they sponsored a tree at a local arboretum.
That's nice.
So, it shows their resilience and their commitment to keeping her spirit alive.
Yeah, they're trying to find meaning.
Yeah.
In this senseless loss.
Exactly.
And it's really a testament to their strength.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the question remains.
Yeah.
What drove Plote to do this?
Right.
Was it, as the prosecution argued, just a calculated act to escape responsibility?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but the sources point to a few different factors, like his desire for secrecy, his fear of fatherhood, the pressure of juggling multiple relationships. All of this could have just created this overwhelming sense of stress and anxiety.
Right.
And maybe he just felt cornered. Like violence was the only way out.
And his deadline comment really adds to that sense of desperation.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
It suggests that he felt trapped by this ticking clock.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting to think about the psychological impact of his profession, as a firefighter and a paramedic. He was trained to deal with these emergencies, to stay calm under pressure.
Right.
So could that training, in some twisted way, have enabled him to just detach from the emotional consequences of his actions?
That's an interesting thought.
It's a really sobering thought.
For sure.
So we've got all this evidence.
Yeah.
We can analyze it.
Right.
We can speculate about his motives.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he made the choice to take a life.
He did.
And that choice had devastating consequences.
Absolutely.
For everyone involved.
Yeah, for Melissa, for her family, even for himself.
Right.
This case also raises some important questions about domestic violence and, whether there were warning signs that people miss.
Yeah, could anyone have intervened?
Exactly.
So it's really crucial for us to talk about this aspect a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree.
It's important to remember that
Plote
didn't have any prior criminal history.
Yeah, he seemed like...
He was well respected in his community.
Yeah, stand-up guy.
Right.
So this case really shows us that abusers can hide in plain sight.
Yeah.
So it's so important to recognize the signs of abuse.
Yeah.
And to get help.
Absolutely.
If you need it.
Yeah. It's a reminder that appearances can be deceiving.
Definitely.
So we've uncovered this really complex and tragic story.
We have.
We've looked at the investigation.
Yeah. Impact on her family.
Right. All of it.
So what does it all mean?
Yeah. What are the key takeaways?
Well, one of the biggest things is that we need to be vigilant.
Mm-hmm.
We need to pay attention to those little things that might seem insignificant, but could actually be warning signs.
Yeah.
We have to trust our gut instincts and speak up if something feels wrong.
Absolutely.
Because even in seemingly ordinary lives, darkness can be lurking beneath the surface.
Right.
And the consequences of doing nothing can be devastating.
Yeah. So this case is really a call to action.
I think so.
For all of us.
Yeah.
To be more aware, more compassionate, and to really work towards creating a safer world.
Absolutely.
Where everyone feels safe and valued.
Couldn't agree more.
So we've really explored this tragic loss of Melissa Lamesch.
Yeah.
The investigation that, revealed this horrible truth. And the trial and Plote's conviction. But the legal process doesn't always just end there.
No, you're right.
Even after a conviction, there can be appeals.
Yeah.
And more legal proceedings. And this case is no exception.
Right.
I understand that Plote is actually appealing his conviction right now.
He is.
So what are the grounds for his appeal?
Well, his defense team is basically saying that there were some serious problems with the investigation.
Okay.
And they're hoping to overturn that guilty verdict.
Oh.
And specifically, they're going after that arson conclusion.
Oh, okay.
They're saying that the fire investigation wasn't thorough enough.
Right.
And that the arson charge is shaky.
So they're trying to suggest that the fire might not have even been set on purpose.
Exactly.
And if they can do that, then...
Yeah, then the whole case against Plote starts to fall apart.
Right.
The defense is also bringing up the possibility of other suspects.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're saying that the investigators just focused on Plote.
Right.
And didn't really look into other possibilities.
But what about the DNA evidence?
Well, the defense is trying to cast doubt on that, too. They're saying that maybe the DNA was contaminated.
Right.
Or mishandled during the investigation.
So it really becomes a battle of, interpretations and technicalities.
Right, exactly.
And this appeals process can take a long time.
It can, yeah.
Months, even years.
Yeah.
And for Melissa's family, this must be so incredibly difficult.
I can imagine.
To know that the man who was convicted is still fighting
to
get that conviction overturned.
It's like they can't get any peace.
Yeah, it's a constant reminder of everything they've been through.
Absolutely.
But it's inspiring to see that they're still focusing on honoring her memory in these positive ways.
Yeah, they're amazing people.
Yeah, their dedication to helping others really speaks volumes.
It really does.
About their character.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We've examined the investigation, analyzed the evidence.
The emotional impact.
Right.
The legal proceedings.
Right. It's a case that's both heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And really thought-provoking.
Absolutely.
We've had to confront these uncomfortable truths.
Right.
About domestic violence.
The justice system.
Yeah.
The fragility of life.
And while there might still be unanswered questions.
Yeah.
And the legal battle's still going on, I think we've learned a lot about,
I agree.
The human capacity for darkness, but also for resilience.
Yeah, for sure.
So for our listeners,
yeah,
what lessons can we take away from Melissa's story?
I think we can all learn to be more aware of the signs of abuse and be there to support the people in our lives who might be going through something like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can work towards creating a world where these kinds of tragedies are a thing of the past.
Yeah, we need to be more vigilant, more compassionate, and create a society where everybody feels safe.
Absolutely.
And valued.
Couldn't agree more.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a heavy one, but an important one.
Definitely.
Stay curious, everybody.
Stay informed.
And we'll be back soon with another deep dive into a new topic.
See you next time.